context of this conversation that we're having, because again, this is day one of a multi-week criminal trial where Charles and Joyce and you, Mary, have just said Donald Trump's going to have to sit and take it until maybe he combusts. But if this is what we're getting from him walking into court this morning before he's had to sit through 7 hours of, jury selection, whatever, then I think he's going to bust a lot sooner than we think. So let's quickly play the sound of Trump this morning before he went into court.
This is an assault on America. Nothing like this has ever happened before. There's never been anything like it. Every legal scholar said this case is nonsense. It should never have been brought. It doesn't deserve anything like this. There is no case, and they've said it. People that don't necessarily follow or like Donald Trump said this is an outrage that this case was brought. This is political persecution. This is a persecution like never before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And again, it's a case that should have never been brought. It's an assault on America. And that's why I'm very proud to be here. This is an assault on our country. And it's a country that's failing. It's a country that's run by an incompetent man who's very much involved in this case. This is really an attack on a political opponent. That's all it is. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
And the sense of self-preservation, which quite honestly.
So we're in the contact one of Trump's going to have to sit walking whatever this morning before he.
Nothing like this has ever happened before. There's never been anything like it. Every legal scholar said this case is nonsense. It should never have been brought. It doesn't deserve anything like this. There is no case, and they've said it. People that don't necessarily follow or like Donald Trump said this is an outrage that this case was brought. This is political persecution. This is a persecution like never before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And again, it's a case that should have never been brought. It's an assault on America. And that's why I'm very proud to be here. This is an assault on our country. And it's a country that's failing. It's a country that's run by an incompetent man who's very much involved in this case. This is really an attack on a political opponent. That's all it is. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Guys, it's a criminal trial. I don't know anybody, like I said, who'd ever be honored to be in a criminal trial, let alone the defendant. And again, I don't like playing the sound, but I think it's important to be able to see this man's state of mind going into a criminal trial. Joyce, I want to quickly ask you about this, because one of the frustrating things about what we heard right now from Donald Trump is how much it was just chock full of lies. So, and how much it completely demeans our judicial system, how much it shows that he has no respect for the process. And yet to the collective group here, you guys have all opined and all suggested that this is his only opportunity to speak absent taking the stand, right? Absent him, tweeting out or posting on Truth Social later on. This is really the only way for him to campaign, because if you listen to what he said, no, every legal scholar, Joyce, you and I tweeted out about this. I'm not one of those legal scholars telling him that this case never should have been prosecuted. But this is the only way for this man to campaign for the next 6+ weeks. And I want to reiterate, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, he is in court from at least 9:30 in the morning till at least 4:30 in the afternoon. So Joyce, what recourse is available for Alvin Bragg at this point? Are we squarely going into the land of gag orders? Are we squarely going to a place where there's a way to kind of fact check what's going on?
Yeah, defendants usually have the right to say what they want to say on the way in and out of the courthouse. The problem is that Donald Trump is not your normal defendant, right? Because everybody in the press is out there sticking a microphone in his face and letting him say what he wants to. I was so appreciative this morning. I was on Morning Joe with Mika Brzezinski when he made those comments. Mika immediately stepped in and fact checked and corrected all of the misinformation that he put out. I think that that's a great model for the press to adopt. We should all be very careful to not let him get away with mistruths. The problem was he said so much that was incorrect in those few brief moments that it's almost difficult to go through it and correct all of it. Will there be a gag order? I think it's possible that he will trip into territory where the judge will say, look, Mr. Trump, this case gets tried in my courthouse, not on the courthouse steps. If you want to go out there and make campaign speeches and talk about what a great candidate you are, you can absolutely do that, but you can't comment on the evidence. You can't call prosecutors corrupt. Maybe you can say, I'm honored to be here, although I think everybody listened to a criminal defendant saying that and just, sort of a lot of people's heads exploded when he said that. I mean, it's just crazy talk. But political speech versus commentary on the case, that's where this one is headed.
I have a thought about that. I wonder to what extent Donald Trump's following in terms of its size or demonstrated loyalty in terms of their sort of the actions of his acolytes, doxing people who he's identified or putting them squarely in the crosshairs would contribute to the decision for a gag order. So, for example, Mary, you may not know, but I think Joyce, Katie, if there were a defendant who, for example, had 100 followers on Twitter, and they weren't very active followers, I don't necessarily know that if they said the same things, that most people would care. Most judges would care. I think that they might get a warning from a judge, but I'm wondering if it's the function of the fact that he has such a large following, or the fact that we've seen his following demonstrate what they'll do when he sort of dispatches them, that factors into whether the gag order will be either enforced, whether it will be, and what its contours are. Or do you think it's a combination of both?
Listen, I think what ends up happening, though, is he has an existing gag order. It had to be expanded because of bad behavior. It doesn't mean, to Joyce's point or to your point, that Judge Merchan can't create another one, because, as you'll recall, Trump at the last minute tried to get an indefinite adjournment of this trial because of quote unquote prejudicial pretrial publicity, which Judge Merchan found was created almost 100% by Trump himself. And Merchan said Trump is standing on the courthouse steps, just steps away from the courtroom where he's going to be in trial. So Merchan's not stupid. He knows that there's kind of something at play here. But I do think the First Amendment challenge to the fact that Trump is a candidate for office creates that, but I don't think it should be a shield and a sword for him. And I think that's the problem here. I think he's been using his candidacy as a sword and a shield to be able to get away with stuff that other people as criminal defendants would not be able to get away with. And that is going to be a problem. So I wanted to thank those of you that have joined us. We are the numbers are building, and we're very happy to see that. Mary Trump, Charles Coleman, Joyce Vance are here. We are still waiting to have one of the reporters who is inside the courtroom, Adam Reese from MSNBC, join us shortly. He's going to talk about some color in terms of what was going on inside of the courtroom today. And we want to invite you to put questions into the chat. We're going to go through the chat, pull some questions.